appropriate time, I don't know, JJ won't be able to see, I guess, but I can share screen to do a spreadsheet or whatever. If we end up wanting to do a poll, we can do some discussing of that. But I think we should stop doing the pre-discussing and do the post-discussing. Or the actual discussing?
The actual discussing?
Pre-post and pre-actual post? What would be the middle for predetermined, post-determined, determined?
Determined.
Yeah, it would just be the thing, yeah.
So, discussion. That sounds so boring. It needs another word in front of it. But hello, and welcome to episode 387 of We Were Gamers. Had a little week off there. Michael and I both indisposed, unfortunately, last week with unforeseen oopsies. And, that's how life goes, right? But we're all back here. JJ, hello.
Hello.
Thanks for holding down the fort. Sorry we missed you.
It's life, man.
Yeah. Michael, glad you're feeling well.
Good to be back.
Yay. Not only were we questioned as to our missingness, however, I was chastised for something that I have to admit to in my games list from last year, for my things of the year, the making of the list. Which, by the way, someone suggested doing that in Excel or like a Google Sheet so you could keep track of it. Cool idea. Cool idea. I just did it on my phone, which is why I used notes. But if you were more into that idea, go for it, Make it searchable. Anyway, I was chastised. I left off all my multiplayer games. I didn't mention like Apex or Call of Duty or any of those things. So I was called out for trying to dodge those as my responsibility. Oh well.
I mean, it's a fair call out, right? I'm sure you spent a significant amount of time playing those games, right?
It's an absolutely true call out, right? Like 2 hours each time you play one of those things, right? You, at least, and then that's once or twice a week sometimes to go play those. So that's a lot of time during the year that I was not accounting for, and I missed it, and I feel bad about it.
This is why you got to play everything on one platform, one digital storefront platform, and then it tracks the playtime.
Oh, it'll
so
do
you won't miss it. You'll just notice.
Yeah.
And you'll be like, oh, I spent 1,000 hours playing this. What happened?
Microsoft's doing their best to get everything, under one umbrella. Is that too early of a joke for them wrapping up the entire world of games?
I mean, no, there's been like 50 years of litigation, it feels like. So.
Well, do you think, either of you, that they will just go for it and buy Palworld with its recent 3 million downloads?
They said 5 million recently.
Oh, okay.
Ooh. Also, no. A flash in the pan hit. I feel like it's no guarantee of anything else that is going to be made on this game, right?
It feels like a Sea of Thieves level game, though, in terms of it's like just sort of a thing that exists, and they've invested a lot of money and stuff into, like Sea of Thieves is still out there doing stuff, even though it feels like a game that's kind of, oh, people play that?
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm not tuned into the Palworld discourse. Since it hits both like genres of games I'm not interested in survival and crafting and Pokemon. So it's just like both avenues that I don't want to go down.
Which is interesting because I like original Pokemon up through some of them, and the most recent Arceus has been a family staple recently, and we're quite liking. So Pokemon and survival games, multiple survival games with like multiplayer components over the years have been fun. Like it's that zombie one that Microsoft also owns. State of Decay,
Minecraft, and
the
other most popular games in existence.
Yeah,
but it's not for me, and that's cool, and it's for very many other people. So I get it, but I don't know what the from a like will they buy this developer standpoint, like are there microtransactions even in this game? Like, is there any way for them to make more money? Like,
I
if
don't know.
Microsoft bought them, would they even get anything? You know,
They just have 20. It's just $27. I don't know what else they're planning to do with it. I haven't played it, and I don't want to be one of those influencer people that's like, "Yo, you gotta see this game. It's crazy."
I mean, I
but
know
even
several of my friends that have been playing it.
look, even
and-
people, even I don't want to. I mean, good for you. I don't want to chastise people that are playing it. I'm even interested in playing it, is what I'm saying. But I don't know enough about it to be like influencer level person. People I respect online have been playing it, and I have personal interest in trying it out. But it does feel a little like, oh, if I don't play it for a month, will I have missed the moment? You know, will it be over after this?
Is it a strike while the iron's hot kind of thing?
I definitely know the people I know that have played it have all, you know, of them who I have talked to all said like it is definitely it's fun to play together. If I was playing by myself, I don't know that I would enjoy this kind of thing.
Yeah. It's on Game Pass, I think. So we'll see. You mentioned Minecraft. I would just like to say that my home has entered the Minecraft discourse as well. I am now an old person with opinions about Minecraft and having young people teach me to play it. So, yeah. They're teaching me well, but I still don't get it. I mean, things like, oh yeah, you put this beacon down and then you put diamond squares but not diamond circles next to it, and that's what powers the beacon, and then you can't put the beacon on certain types of other. I was like, how do you know all this stuff? I don't.
Kids have a lot of free time that you don't have. That's how they know.
But what's weird about Minecraft to me still, even having now played it, is there's just no like onboarding for understanding any of these things. They just sort of are just given a giant bucket of Legos and they're like, enjoy. There's no instructions. But less than Legos, you can't tangibly understand what's happening. So it's been interesting to kind of try to learn that. Try and learn that. I don't know. I brought up accidentally Palworld because like Minecraft, it feels like a We Were Gamers moment when JJ, you mentioned Aftermath.
I did.
I mean, yeah, like the people that left one place to go start Aftermath or whatever.
Oh yeah, okay.
And they had their boomer moment this week with, it's really sad actually that people like Palworld ... the article. And it was like, uh-oh.
Feels old manish.
We're our age group of the people that are dropping like flies of in social media or in like traditional media are starting to hit their boomer moment, right? You know, like the I don't know what their senior moment, their we've been in this business too long moment. I don't know what type of moment this is, but and I think the article deftly acknowledged maybe that's what's happening. But the main point of the article seemed to be like, why are influencers in charge of what people are playing? There are better games than this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's a fair question though, right? Like, you know, there are a lot of better games that exist, and yet people continually gravitate towards certain ones, right? Why do people, you know, continue playing the latest Call of Duty or Assassin's Creed or whatever, name the popular game, that when there are other games that have come out that are in some cases better, you know?
I think that's a psychology professor's question, not a media question.
Right. Yeah. And, you know, the answer here in this case is LOL, people thought Pokemons with guns, and then they saw people playing it and it looked fun. And there they go. Right.
I think that's part of it, right? Is like, yeah, there may be better games out there than Loop Hero, but something about Loop Hero speaks to your personality, right? Like of just like, hey, that looks like exactly the type of thing I want to try and waste time figuring out. And while there might be more technically perfect games than a Palworld, not necessarily Palworld, like the idea of participating in something funny that doesn't have the baggage of a large game is probably pretty relieving to a lot of people that follow these bigger franchises, is my guess. And so,
And
like,
I think it's
I don't think I wouldn't understand for a minute why it would be popular, which is I think what I found most distressing about the why is this popular article.
I think it's important to also realize that a lot of times people are just looking for games to play with their friends.
Yeah,
And if
that
it
aren't
hits
$12 a month.
Right. And this game is, what you said, $27 or whatever right now, wherever it is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that that's a easier ask than saying, hey, let's pay $60 for the latest Call of Duty or whatever. And then you can go say, hey, we're going to go play Pokemons or whatever. Right. And like Nintendo games never go on sale. So if you wanted to play actual Pokemon together, more
It's
expensive and you'd
pricey,
have to have a Switch and whatever. Right. So, I think there's an obvious pathway you could see there. And I think getting mad about that is silly.
I think it's also the Fallout from Fallout 76, right? This was supposed to be that game, that basically game, right? Fallout 76 was supposed to be the multiplayer thing you played with your friends, and it was a serious version of this. It was the survival game and all that sort of stuff. And while my particular multiplayer group enjoys apparently sweating their butts off trying to win games of Warzone at night, another group of friends of mine like to play that State of Decay, and this seems more stress relieving than stress inducing. So I think you're hitting the nail on the head there. It's easy to tell your friends, like, it's on Game Pass, and if you don't have Game Pass, it's $25, which is like a meal for two from McDonald's these days.
Yeah,
man, the price of things. Now we can sound like
that
we were
is
gamers.
The boomer moment. There you go.
There it is.
Like,
man, the
things
price
are
of
too
things.
expensive now, and I used to be cheaper when I was young.
Not untrue, but also not true. I don't know, man. I had to pay a lot of money in car maintenance today.
A lot. You're not far off from your kids patting you on the head and saying, "Yes, Grandpa, I know Cokes used to be a nickel." Like,
but I can remember when an air filter for my car cost $12 and now they're $50.
Oh, I'm not disagreeing with you. The price of things in cars is insane.
Yeah. Eesh. Okay, well, the price of things. There's a mental price to be paid for some things. And while I don't disagree that it's tasty, the mental price of looking at a deep dish pizza, it might be too high for me to pay. I got in trouble a little bit at this party, and I want to discuss Michael's wonderful take on the new phrase we should be using for deep dish pizza. Because I said deep dish pizza is not a pizza. A vehement Chicagoan supporter disagreed with me, and Michael, you stepped in.
I suggested that maybe we just call it a cheese quiche.
I think it's a genius move. It's the classic move against deep dish pizza is always like, oh, it's a casserole, right? But
right.
I love the idea that
crust.
Yeah. So that's why I love the idea that actually it's just a quiche.
But a quiche, and this is, I thought about this for a couple of days. The defining thing of a quiche is that it has egg.
Right. So we're now back into the same question from a couple of weeks ago.
We've changed a sandwich.
How much can you change a sandwich?
Mm-hmm.
Well, is there egg in the dough?
Oh, but there's egg in quiche.
No,
there's not egg in quiche dough either, right? It's pie crust.
It's usually just pie crust.
Yeah.
But is deep dish pizza use egg in the crust?
No, it's also just flour and water and yeast usually.
Okay. I tried. That was all I got.
So I was wondering if we ended up back to where we started of we need another term for a deep dish pizza. Because anything that you can make in a springform pan is not a pizza.
Well, I think it's important to note here specifically, right, normal people don't make pizzas in spring form. That's for cakes. Like it's a cake. That's a thing you use to make like a layered cake.
Thank you. Is pizza a cheesecake?
Well, so if we go back to my favorite cube rule of food, it's not cake because there's not a layer of crust somewhere above the bottom. It is toast.
It can't be toast because it's got sides.
Bread that's crusted on the sides though. That is a toast.
Yeah, but it's
okay. So if it has crust on the sides, then back to food rule, it's quiche.
It can't be quiche. There's no egg.
Oh, I'm going by cube rule of food, which just looks
it's
at
just
where
the
is
shape
bread.
of the bread. Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it would still be quiche in that ruling. I think it's somewhere along,
and cheese stew in a bread bowl.
This is why cheese stew. Yeah. What do you call it when you just melting brie and then you eat it hot?
I mean,
Chicago style.
If you don't have a crust, it's just cheese. But if you put the pastry crust around it, I think you technically made like a mozzarella stick.
Okay. So it's an open face mozzarella stick.
Yeah. A brie-sarella stick? I don't know what the proper term there is.
So my spring form pan was my opening gambit in my theory that it is, like many people call it, a pie.
Yeah. I see where you're coming from, and it does kind of align on the like pie cake axis, right? In terms of the dishes and the cookware, and the utensils you would need to eat it. Even
I think we've gotten too used to sweet pies in this country and forgotten about savory pies.
Yeah. I mean, meat pies are a thing, right?
In other parts of the world, yeah. I mean, they're huge in Australia, New Zealand area. Less huge in England, but still somewhat huge. You know, like a shepherd's pie or something like that. You know,
sure.
Mm-hmm.
I know those have tops. Okay, we don't, but it's still more. Those crusts are more like a pizza dough than they are.
So draping a layer of cheese over the top of your shepherd's pie, is that like the Dutch apple version of a shepherd's pie? You have the cheese on top.
I mean, one Dutch apple pie. You know what I mean. You know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Dutch apple pie.
I do know. Yeah.
With that crumble. Yeah. I don't think you have to have a topping for a pie to be a pie, right? Like plenty of like cherry pies and other things that end up more open face than anything else. But a quiche is not a pie, right? Or is a quiche a pie?
Yeah, I don't know what the
quiche a pie?
Technical pie definition is.
A quiche has to be a pie.
You would think it would be a very very specific type.
It's an egg pie.
Yeah, because so it does make sense that you call it a pie, right? Because I mean, the term and the phrase that gets used even on the East Coast is like pizza pie, right? In New York, you order a pie. You don't even order a pizza. They don't even say that.
But New York pizza is in the antithesis of this project.
Yeah, but I'm saying the word pie is used.
Yeah. I don't understand that either.
If you want to call a deep dish pizza a pie, I think you're well within your linguistic even.
But I think you're required to
traits.
drop the pizza part.
Are you though? Is it just a descriptor of the pie, the same way you would say cherry pie or
it's a
apple
deep
pie?
dish pie.
I mean, that's how people from New York would say it, right? And they wouldn't call it. They certainly wouldn't call it pizza.
Oh yeah, you get in trouble. You get in real trouble, especially because you have to eat it with a fork.
Right. Yeah.
All right. The debate continues. Is it a cheese quiche or is it a deep pie? Why don't we put it in Chat GPT and find out?
I don't know if I want to be sued for copyright infringement, so maybe.
No, go to one of the AI image generators and type in both phrases and see which one comes closest.
I 10,000% want to do that, but not right now. I think someone that can do things better than AI, though, JJ, Michael, you'll both agree with me, I think. Someone that can do things better than AI are dogs.
In the scale of good boys, right? I think the dogs are guaranteed to be ahead.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Did either of you, AGDQ was this past week, did either of you end up watching the Shiba Inu run a speed run of a game?
I have it flagged. I have not gotten to pull it up yet.
Yeah, so I have watched the VOD. I did not see this live because
I didn't
it was
either.
Nowhere even close to when I was available.
Okay, so I wanted to bring this up mostly because I just wanted to say a dog speed run ran a game at GDQ, and that was hilarious and awesome, especially when the dog was doing the correct thing but in the wrong place sometimes. So Michael, he trains the dog, and you'll find this when you watch the video, to hit buttons to play the game. But the training is basically like left hand, right hand, down on these spaces, right?
Sure.
Not that the dog has memorized, like if you say red to hit red, or right to, right or left, or anything like that. So sometimes the dog misses, and it makes for some hilarious stress of like, oh my God, we're going to miss the jump.
Oh no.
Pretty good. But it turns out the controller he's using is a custom controller made out of a Rob controller.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's using Rob the robot as the input to play the game, basically.
I knew what a Rob the robot was. I saw a contemporaneous Rob the robot in the 90s, right? Like that people were still had on their shelf from the NES, but I never actually used a Rob, and it took this run for me to look up how a Rob worked. Fascinating.
The speed run catches a lot of headlines. He's like, the dog did the speed run. And when you actually watch it, you're like, okay, like he trained the dog. I get it.
Right. Yeah.
But the hardware and the stuff that the guy is doing behind to like make that part work is like kind of cool, right? It's like a modified Rob so that you can, the dog can hit the buttons instead of Rob hitting the buttons. That's how that's supposed to work too, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's cool, and it is entertaining. I think it's certainly I didn't watch at normal. It's like 35 minutes long or something, so you're forgiven for not wanting to watch all 35 minutes of it. But it's definitely entertaining as it goes through.
It's really cool that we have better working stuff than Rob nowadays. But the idea that they were like, you know what's cool? This zap gun idea we had. What if we just flashed other lights at something else? What would we flash it at? I don't know. This robot. What's the robot gonna do? I don't know. This really long, laborious movements. Like, and then we're gonna, we're far enough in to just make this a thing. We're just gonna continue doing it and sell this. It's just fascinating. The stuff that they used to make for Rob, including like Rob's, So check out the dog speed run, and then go watch another YouTube of people using an actual Rob controller. It's fascinating. Speaking of controllers and stuff like that, a larger discussion than pizza pie has shattered the internet, JJ, and we'll have two things to talk about with it. One, Michael and I don't see eye to eye on another issue, so he's gonna have to chime in first, and then we're gonna talk about Diablo after.
Okay.
This is a big moment for us because I think we're gonna have some problems on this podcast in about a second. Yeah. Michael, is it GIF or GIF?
I am in camp GIF.
JJ?
I'm a giffer.
Yeah, I'm also a giffer. I've been a giffer for a while. However, JJ and I did grow up at the time people were beginning to make GIFs and learn to say the word together. So that might be part of it.
Yeah, we were in the same area and like cohort of people, so it's possible we influenced each other there.
Yeah. So I'm going to call that a tie. All right, Michael, you're off the hook.
Okay.
All right.
Let it go.
Season 3 of Diablo is starting, JJ.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Diablo 4. They had an announcement stream with a whole bunch of stuff that's coming to the game, seneschals and upgrades and quality of life changes and a whole bunch of things that are coming in Season 3. One of the things is that computers are going to get a controller-like movement scheme instead of having to move with the mouse.
Huh?
Exactly. So when they described it, an argument broke out on the stream because the first person to announce it said that it was WASD movement. People could be heard in the background saying WASD, and then another person in the background could be heard saying WASD movement. The buttons,
Okay.
the normal movement buttons, W, A, S, and D, apparently have 3 known competing naming nomenclatures.
Yeah, because you always just see them typed out, right? It's always all caps and it's always WASD in that order.
Right.
I'm not a person in a hurry, and I've always said WASD.
I can see how you get from there to WASD. I don't see how you get to WASD.
What are we feeling? Are we taking a vote on this early? Do we need to debate this?
So I think I'm with JJ. To me, WASD gives more of a pass because of how. So what would you use to describe what style keyboard we use in the US?
QWERTY.
There you go. And that, for me, that is why WASD gets a pass. I always say WASD.
Right. Yeah, and I think the QWERTY, and everyone says QWERTY, right?
Right, exactly. You don't spell
But
it out.
because QWERTY has like some vowels in there and can be enunciated in English.
Yeah, it's a quirky almost, you know?
Yeah, I don't know that if, we were typing in some other language in a different keyboard layout,
You wouldn't say
call their
WASD,
keyboards?
right?
No, I don't know that they would, right?
Yeah.
Or even QWERTY, because I don't know that the letters or the characters, I guess, on their keyboards even line up into a thing that makes a word that's intelligible, right? The way it kind of does in English. It's not a real word, but you know what I mean? It's a thing that you could enunciate, versus WASD doesn't really follow any English kind of pronunciation syntaxes. And so then I don't see how you can get a pronounceable English word out of it without doing something like WASD.
Or then you'd be like, if you were being phonetic, it would be like WASD, which would cause confusion, right? Because anyway, QWERTY is nice because it's all in a line. But then I understand why you start with W because it's on top, but you could just as easily start from the bottom up and say as W.
But who reads bottom to top, right? Like if you're reading
Japanese, right?
Are we Japanese speakers here using English keyboards?
No, that's true. Good point.
So, that I see how you get there, right? It's just confusing to me how you go from WASD to WASD. It's just like you got lazy. It's like I don't want to say D. I just want to be like
WASD. Yeah.
I don't know.
So we agree WASD is the conventional nomenclature. WASD is our funny GIF cousin. And WASD is excommunicated. Is that where we're landing here as a group?
I think that's kind of where I come down.
Yeah, that feels right.
Okay. All right. Less contentious than I hoped, but still scary for a moment. I got a little worked up when I read some of those. Thank you for bringing me back down. Diablo. There we go. Diablo? Diablo. Which one is it?
I believe it's Diablo.
I know. I'm just saying. We could go another route of mispronouncing things. JJ, I want to follow up on Diablo real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on. I'm going to cough. Sorry about that.
You missed a perfect opportunity to do the "Let me clear my throat."
I'm not cool enough for that. I'm not. Oh, you know I'm not.
The listeners don't know.
I've been very impressed with the music in the game. I just want to say that off the bat. It's something I've thought about every time I played it. Usually I turn off when I get, especially in like Diablo 3. Diablo 3 was good too. The music in every Diablo game has been good, let me say, up front. But it took longer for me to turn off the music in Diablo 4 than it did the other games. It was less repetitive and more iterative, but it still had the Diablo feeling. Like it still called back to some of those Tristram vibes, but still felt new. So good on the man or woman. I don't know. All the last name is the only thing I know. And it's Kaliski. So could be either. I hit Paragon.
Congrats.
I think I'm only like level 54 though. So we're trying it out, but that's already enough to have gotten like 12 points or something like that.
Yeah, it's like 3 or 4 per level, I think.
4. Yep. Michael, the Paragon system is the end game leveling system.
Okay.
I think we discussed in the past, the game seems to auto level to you.
Yes. Yep.
Very strange.
Enemy scale.
Yeah. I started to get to the point I beat the world dungeon on level 2, and I am now in world level 3. Mm-hmm. And I thought the game was getting harder for a moment. I thought finally, like, okay, well, maybe this auto leveling thing, has panned out and it's still going to keep the game hard. Paragon levels weren't seeming to do much in terms of changing things. I was a little bit like, I don't quite understand. And then the sacred gear showed up.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, my damage was double.
Yeah, they just have like a new tier of items. They're just better.
I've been saving so that Michael, they bait you in this game. Legendary items have what do they call them? Aspects, JJ?
Yeah. It's like
okay.
The little unique powers.
So, much like in COTC, an armor can do something if they want it to, instead of just having stats, right? But if an armor does something specific more than just affects different stats in the game, it's called an aspect, and it can be removed from the armor and just kept as a thing you can later apply to other armor.
So if you really like this aspect, you can disenchant the legendary item, right? Keep the aspect, and then
take it with you.
Yeah, so
apply it to a different legendary, right? Specifically only legendaries, though. You can't put them on whatever you want.
Okay. Right. Well, you can kind of, but not all the time. You can apply codex ones to non-legendaries because...
Oh, okay. I did not know that.
Yeah, you can use rare. So that's how you get codex stuff early in the game. You can put it on rare items. I think that's the way that works. Because I enchanted rare rings with Zenith aspect early in the game to try and help my mana regeneration. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. The thing that is here and there is the idea that legendary items are randomly generated, right? It's not like you just know that if you run this dungeon over and over, you're going to get the same item with the same aspect on it, right? You're like, if I find the thing for my build, I use Chain Lightning, right? That's one spell out of 100 in the game. So you think Rolling Souls is bad? Listen to this. When you find the legendary with the thing that says, hey, Chain Lightning can bounce 4 more times, you're supposed to save it because you want to disenchant it later, but disenchanting is expensive. So wait until you're much higher level and you got a piece of gear you're not going to get rid of for a while, right? Okay. Except that when you get to sacred legendaries, the aspects actually get a bump too. So my inventory is full of these items that I've been holding on to because they're aspects and they have high rolls on them, but the rolls can just be higher now. So all the aspects I've been saving for 50 levels, there are just better versions of them if you get it on sacred gear.
Womp.
And there's another step above sacred as well, called ancestral. So yeah.
Really, honestly, don't freak out about holding on to gear until you're playing in the ancestral level, right? Like hold on to stuff that might be useful to your build specifically, but I've been holding on to every sorcerer aspect I could find.
Even your lower level aspects might be more useful than a random sacred one because they actually apply to skills you use, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, you could get the same aspect again, but with 3 to 5 more percentage points on it in a sacred item now.
Yeah. Very funny to me. I think my final-ish review as season 2 closes is that I think I will check out season 3 at some point, although having not hit 100 with a character, I kind of feel like I'd be wasting my time playing season 3 also. There's so much to do in that game, not even including the seasonal stuff. And like, it was cool. Big reminder for you too, Michael, if you ever pick up Diablo 4, don't bother with the side quests at all.
Okay.
I told you, Andrew, you didn't listen, right?
I mean, I listened well enough. I did probably 20 over the course of the game.
As opposed to like trying to do all of them
300
in your initial
thought,
right?
Yeah. Uh-huh. But literally just mainline the story the first time. The seasonal story was enough for me to hit like level 3 in the tiers of the like story thing in the battle pass, which is enough for me to get most of the way through the battle pass without having to pay any money or anything.
Yeah, I mean,
very strange.
You don't get all the same stuff as
no.
people that paid, obviously. But
right,
yeah,
but
leveling through the battle pass is not hard. The hardest part about the stuff in the battle pass is getting your character level high enough to claim this stuff, because some of them have character level requirements.
Yeah. Very interesting that they designed it that way in the season too. I very much liked the season story also. They seemed to put a lot of effort and thought into like, why don't we just make a whole nother story for the game?
Yeah, it was good, right? All the like the vampire stuff and like tracking Zur and the whole thing. It was cool.
Yeah.
Like fun.
Yeah, very, very cool. Paragon, not sure it changes my opinion too much about how I felt about the game early on, which is I think it's better than Diablo 3. And I think if you had a lot of time to just play it and only it could definitely be, for a lot of people that like this style game, the only game you play. They've put so much into it. So much. I don't have the time. I don't know. But we'll check out season 3, I think. A little bit. The
Paragon stuff really does open up a lot of builds.
Yeah. I just got my first glyph too, so that might be part of it. Is like you might actually need to play to 100 to really see. But the auto leveling does seem to take into account that you're getting Paragon. I thought I was gonna.
It knows. Yeah.
I thought I was gonna be like, when I hit my first node that gave me 20% damage buff, I thought I was gonna be like jumping up in damage, and then I hit a new level, and it was like, no, I'm not that high up in damage.
The stuff that gets really broken is when you start synergizing a bunch of the glyphs together, and you're on the first board, so you still haven't even seen that there are legendary nodes on those boards, and some of the boards themselves have different, like when you start getting to the later boards, have different unique effects. And when you start stacking all of those things on top of each other, along with leveling the glyphs and all these other things, you can, like, the synergies become very overpowered once you start connecting a bunch of the things. But you got to get to level 80, 90, something in order to get all of those things to apply together. Right?
It's kind of crazy. Michael, are you a synergy fan in terms of like, let's say you're playing like a deck building game or something like that? Do you really get into like, okay, if I get this card, it triggers that card, and that card triggers that card?
Yeah, I like that kind of thing.
The aspects alone gave me a bad feeling when I saw it, because it was literally like, not only are there aspects for every type of ice spell, there are multiple aspects for like just Frost Nova. You could aspect every piece of legendary gear on your character with different ways for Frost Nova to trigger other aspects of Frost Nova.
Okay.
So you could be like, okay, if I cast Frost Nova, it makes all enemies vulnerable. That's aspect 1. Aspect 2, when all enemies are vulnerable, I get a health barrier, right? And then the next one over is like, when I get a health barrier, I auto cast a second Frost Nova. If things are already frozen when they're hit, like when they hit with Frost Nova, then they explode. It's just like
you're just chaining
daisy chain of just the aspects.
Oh, and then you take, nodes which are like, you do 20% bonus damage to vulnerable enemies, and then 20% damage to frozen enemies, and then 20% damage to vulnerable frozen enemies, and then 20% damage to undead, and then like all that stuff just stacks and stacks and stacks, right?
You walk in, press E, and then everything dies. Oh my god, you know what I just realized? In season 3, I'm going to have to rebind my keys.
And you're going to have to restart your character at level 1 because you can't bring anything over.
They want you to put your abilities on the number bar 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? But that's too. I don't find that comfortable, right? Like, who wants that? But since they're bringing in WASD movement, I use QWER for my ability, so I'm gonna have to move that. Oh, bummer.
The game plays pretty good with a controller, I'll say. I have used a controller playing it. And
maybe without a sorcerer, but that's neither here nor there. We're talking about brokenness, and we're about to really break another game we're all playing. I think it's kind of cool that we've kind of slipped into like a once in a month maybe check-in on Champions of the Continent, but this is a big once a month to start talking about.
Yeah, they've slowed down with the content a little bit, which helps pace out our conversations. Say,
I'm okay with that. I don't know about you guys. I think Michael, maybe I do know it about you, but JJ, I don't know it about you. I can finish the story relatively easily. Sometimes I need a refight against a boss, but that's about it. I've kind of finished most of the like easy grindy stuff. I'm kind of to the like every battle that I really need to do is a night. Like, okay, last night I'm gonna do the Hunter Tower, right? Like I set aside 2 hours to do the Hunter Tower. Final battle, right? The rest of the battles in the Hunter Tower are easy, but like tomorrow I might set aside time to try and do the Ebony Dragon to level whatever to get the rubies, that kind of thing. So that's really kind of changed my relationship with that game quite a bit. I don't know where you guys are at.
I think, Andrew, you should set yourself a lower bar for what you consider like a knight, quote unquote. Sometimes what you should just do is be like, I'm going to make like one real good weapon.
Yeah.
Because like some of these fights, you got to have like 4 to 5 real good weapons. And so like if you set the bar at like, I'm going to get this fight and you're like, oh no, I need to make like 5 unique weapons here. You're just never going to do anything because that takes way too much time.
Yeah, that's a slog.
Fair enough.
Because sometimes getting the one good weapon is impossible enough, to be fair. It can be a lot of re-rolling. Like, that's how this game is now.
Well, there's more content coming. And I don't know about you, but it seems like everyone has the opinion one of these pieces of content is going to break the game a little bit. Your buddy and mine, Bargello, is coming. Michael,
I'm excited for this, man.
Yeah. Michael, what do we have to look forward to this week?
Oh goodness. So yeah, and we get Bargello, and along with him we get Sonya. And the two of them are Bargello, even his own damage aside, is one of the best supporters still, I think, in the JP game today. The fact that he gives attack up to the front row, he gives damage cap up, and he just hits, he hits like a truck in his own right.
Yeah.
So that's pretty exciting.
We're also getting pets, or what are they calling them? Keepers?
Right. So they're calling them keepers in English, but they are pets. I think everyone is still going to refer to them as pets.
Yeah, Wrath.
Yeah. Rip. But yeah, so we get the pet system, which is you get an extra ability to use in your preparation phase, and those abilities cast instantly.
One per turn.
Right, one per turn. But you can use them in fun ways because some of the pets can also be boosted at the expense of using BP.
Yeah.
So you can use the BP on a pet to boost someone's ult gauge without them taking a turn, and then on turn 1 they can use a fully charged ult.
And it also doesn't interrupt the person's BP recovery. So even though you use all their BP, say on the pet, to generate ult gauge, you still gain 1 BP at the end of the turn then. Where normally, when you use a skill boosted, it doesn't allow you to gain BP the next turn.
And then the next turn you can use Maffa and generate more BP.
Combo, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Are all of our fights about to get that much easier?
Not all of them. So you
not
can't
arena.
you can use them in the arena.
Oh, sorry, not the towers.
Not the towers, which
Right.
I think all of us have a couple of tower fights that we would definitely like that little bit of boost for.
Yeah.
Almost all the tower duos for me.
I have 2 job towers left to do fights in also, actually, because I just don't do them unless I'm done with getting the stone. So
yeah, I still am no good at merchant.
Yeah, that's one of them.
Same here.
My cleric EX5 is like extremely inconsistent.
That's a rough fight.
And so I just like stop at EX4 most weeks.
Yeah. When's that quality of life update? JJ, you get to skip traveler stories now, unlike Michael and I did.
Yeah,
that's like 1,000 hours saved right there, huh?
Which, to be fair, when I'm doing them, I'm typically not looking and I'm just tapping, right? But it is cool for some of them, and I have been enjoying the new, the new 4 stars that have been adding. Their stories are pretty amusing so far. But I'm not looking forward to having to do the mountain of 3-star stories that I've ignored, and who are all uniformly pretty boring, I believe.
Yeah, 3 stars are usually patterned. So once you've seen like 4 or 5, you'll know what they are going to ask you to do. I think something we haven't really talked about with COTC, especially with the playing it this long, is I think you guys paid a little bit for those passes. But I've stayed free to play, and I'm not a huge perfect person when it comes to managing my money in this game. But something that you do have to do if you're going to be free to play is manage your money in the game.
Oh, absolutely. It's a finite resource.
So we're going to do a fun little game for a second where we do some money management. Do you guys want to do that? And we can talk about the theory of whether or not I should pull to try and get, ostensibly I want Maffa, but I have to get Tatloch to do that.
Let me pull out my TI-86 here.
Well, so I was wondering, maybe I can share my screen. Here, we'll share the spreadsheet. JJ, you might not be able to see it, and people that are listening won't be able to see it. So I will still talk it out, I have a starting count right now of 4,980 rubies. Okay. That's the number we're working with. So staring at that number right now, I think most people would say don't pull on Tatloch.
Yeah, I think
that's pretty safe. Yeah.
Because Bargello could be up to 4,500. And I guess technically should be up to 4,500, so you can get as many awakening stones as possible, right?
There is some conversation about what is the best order to go in with the new banner structure.
And I think as a free to play player, it is probably best for you to not use your rubies pulling for his awakenings and get them from the awakening stone exchange later when his stones come there.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
So specifically because you're not planning to pay money.
I am not planning to pay money. Yeah.
That once you get him, stop. And then later, when the awakening stones come to the exchange, I'm sure you have a bunch of awakening stones from random folk who you're never going to bother awakening again. Like Michael has 15 scarecrows or something, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And, shard all those up and use those to buy awakenings.
You do need some of those for pets.
Yeah, there are some, certainly.
Yeah.
But, I think most of the people think that Bargello's A4 is worth it. But it will be a few months before that happens, because I think there's some lag time before the awakenings show up in that.
6 months.
It's 6 months plus the time until the next update after the 6-month mark.
Woo. All right. Let's do some quick and dirty math here together to see if this is going to work out. So we have, let's say, unearned as a category. We have upcoming. And we have reward as categories. So let's see. How much are we going to get from doing that race? Is that 300?
It's 300.
Okay, so that would be reward, right?
Yep. And those are, to be clear, those are coming this Wednesday, right? So probably when this podcast comes out.
Okay, all right. So the next number we know we have an equal sign here because we're going to add some things together. We've got 888 we won during the roll, I guess.
So no, we have 888 that are coming as the 1.5 anniversary gift.
Okay.
Gift.
See, this is why GIF is wrong, and we've all heard it now. Okay, but that's also coming Wednesday.
Yes.
Okay. There was another upcoming thing that was coming 150 for something.
Yeah, I believe those are like special rewards for completing various tasks,
which I'm sure we've already completed, right?
Those are for main story of Master of All completion.
Okay, that's done, so we're good. Is there any other random upcoming reward, not non-reward money they're just throwing at us?
There's 88 from the Tavern Talk today.
Okay, not the 888.
No, it's on top of that.
All right. That sounds like a hit enter on that guy. Right?
Think so. I think that's all that's coming up.
Now, I put this unearned category down, but I don't know if we should use it. I'm going to talk through it here. This is all for being a free-to-play player. This is stuff that you have to do in your head, I guess, right? A little bit when it comes down to it, when the numbers are this bad and you took pity to get Renew, you know? Unearned. So I haven't finished the dragon, some of those Master Tower fights, or any of the Heck duos. So those could be doable during the Bargello period that he is available, if I wanted them to be something to finish. So how many...
Are you talking the dragon board or Ruby Dragon?
The black... Do the feat to beat the dragon on the board.
Okay.
And you get rubies from that. So the real question is, how much do we think is legitimately and with my time doable in that time period?
Have you done any of the Master Tower duos?
I don't think so.
I think the first one is pretty easy.
So that would be 100 rubies?
200?
I think those might be 2.
Okay, we're calling it 2. No research.
Yeah.
All right.
It's 200, I'm pretty sure. The problem is all the ones after that, they're the harder NPCs, right?
Okay, so we'll
Right.
say those aren't doable in the time period, just in case they're not, right?
Because there are 3 more floors of 200 each that, in theory, exist for you to do.
But
Might not be achievable. Are you going to beat the Ikiro Bladed Wings Master and the Barricane Chief at the same time?
I barely beat the Ikuro Master on my own. No.
Right. So
yeah. So we'll call that 1 floor doable. Are the heck fights finishable? How many of those are there? There's 3, right?
There are 3 of those.
And you get 200 for each. We could probably do 1 of those.
How good are your soul weapons?
I have level 3 of every soul weapon. I haven't slotted all of them, but I can. I have not been equipping soul weapons every 5 minutes, so I have many soul stones just sitting around.
But do you have the right ones?
I don't.
So here's the knowing ourselves, right? And that we're not pushing you're not going to be pushing yourself all the way to the limit and getting every single ally,
push it to
and
the limit,
a bunch of A4s and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Those duos fights are pretty tough. Okay. And you will absolutely need like good hell weapons on everyone.
Yes.
So we call 1 doable then?
I have not done any of them.
We got to defer to Michael.
Not because I don't have the physical swords or whatever, but because the rolls on them aren't good enough, right, to overcome the lack of the other stuff that I'm not doing.
Mm-hmm. Your call then, Michael. You're the last.
I think
bastion of reason.
I think you could probably get at least 1 of them done. The thing about those fights is that one of the NPCs that you're fighting is stronger than the other one.
Mm-hmm.
So the real fight is how quickly can I get down the one that's going to kill me faster and still have enough turns left to then knock out the other one.
Gotcha. Okay, we'll call it 1. That dragon, is that doable?
If you haven't done that dragon at all, certainly some of the early levels of it are eminently doable.
The ruby levels?
Wait, no. Are we talking the ruby dragon, or are we talking the dragon on the game board?
The dragon board has if you do it up to X level, you get some rubies as a reward.
Okay. Yeah, so a bunch of those are free, effectively. Like, you should be able to do them no problem. Just like roll your characters in there and murder the dragon.
What do we think?
I think you should be able to clear all 5 of it's the first 5 difficulty levels are ruby rewards, and I think you should be able to clear all of those.
Total that would be
270.
270. Okay. Is there any other unearned content that we can think of? Probably not. It's getting boring, I would guess. So we could probably move on.
Not unless you want to try for that 3-turn elite tower.
No. Not in the time limit. That would give us a total of 7,070 something rubies, which would put us at 4,500. Oops. No, don't sum those. Yeah. No. Oh no. I can't use Excel. I mean, you probably have already come up with the number 2,500, right? So I was just doing it. In the screen to show it. 2,500 is our leftovers if we go to Spark, as they say. Is that worth putting some pulls into Tatloch? Right? That would be what? Not 300. 8 pulls? Max?
And I really think you probably want to stop before that.
One would think.
Yeah.
5 pulls is 1,500. That would only leave us 1,000 to try and rebuild before the next character.
Right. So then the other side of this is, who knows what the next character is? I don't know there's anyone as important as Bargello, but there certainly are like highly anticipated characters that exist out there that aren't in here yet. Um, like Erica, Elrica, and Alana EX, right? So, I don't know
Where's the line? Yeah. What's the line here? If we think it's worth trying to get nothing.
Yeah, because the other thing is that I think Tatloch is not necessarily like needed. The pet is good, but there is another version of that pet that you can get. I don't exactly understand how that exchange works. But by the time we will be able to understand how that other exchange works,
Tatloch will not be around anymore.
No option, right?
Yeah.
I think she did get a rerun in JP.
I had hoped for this 7,000 number to be a little higher.
Yeah, so the recommended line that I saw from one of the top mods on the Discord was 8,500.
We're a little short.
Right, that's the line where should I pull, should I not pull?
That was probably a month ago because that would allow you to rebuild to 4,500.
That was when the Tatloch banner came out. So 2 weeks.
2 weeks, yeah. Well, we have to decide if we're doing a poll and if we're doing it live because we got 5 minutes.
I think you could do a few 2 or 3 polls, but I wouldn't want to go beyond that. The math says the odds of getting the character in that are not super good.
If we did 2 polls, that's 900. So we would
600.
600. So we'd leave our account with like 2,000 leftover rubies. That's a pretty good start towards the next character. And that 600 wipes, even if you don't do the unearned stuff on the board, still leaves us with plenty to pull Bargello.
Yeah, you've also got it. You can also factor in there that unearned pool gets bigger if you give yourself more time to complete some of those other fights.
True.
Yeah, because if you're willing to wait longer, right, then also that pool could probably include, more of the Master Tower stuff. It include more duos, and there will be further duos added whenever we get the next story chapter also.
And so there's also, I don't know yet what this doesn't help you, unfortunately, for deciding on Tatloch. We get EX refights as one of the updates on Wednesday. And as part of that, there are rewards associated with winning those fights. But
I guess that's why we should say it doesn't help us on Tatloch. And why we're talking about it live during the podcast is because Tatloch leaves before Wednesday.
Right.
And does not come back for like a year, probably. Very interesting. Well, JJ said 2 pulls. Do we think we have streamer luck?
Only one way to find out.
All right, I hit the guide button. I did a guide 10. Can we just hit it the first time? Is that okay?
Sure.
Would you guys be good with that? So we can just be done?
Yellow ring.
All right, a ring's popping up. The ring is blue. It is not yellow. So there's a chance? There's a chance, right?
Even if it's
there's
dead,
a chance.
There's a chance.
Do we hit skip or do we not hit skip?
I don't.
You don't?
I hit skip.
Yeah. I sort of kind of tap through sometimes. But I think when I have a long series of pulls, I definitely hit skip. We've hit some 4 stars. We've hit some 3 stars. I think this is going to be a dud. We may have thrown 300 rubies down the drain.
Just like most times when we pull.
This
To be fair.
game.
This is the game, right? Yeah, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 3 stars and 2 4 stars.
Can only go up.
I don't know if it bodes well for doing a second pull. That's the problem. But Heck, JJ said 2, so we'll do 2. And then we're done. Right? And we are happy if we walk away with nothing. And that's okay.
Wishing you luck.
That's all right. Well, I've got this recorded, so it's for content. It's another blue ring, you know? There's some stuff going on. I don't see an upgrade happening, but, you know, whatever. It could still hit. 3-star. 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 It's not going well, dudes. 3-star.
Uh-oh.
3-star. It has to be a 4-star in here. There was a blue ring. 3-star. There's the 4-star. It's Miles.
Hey, Miles. How you doing, bro?
3-star. Michael had to say there was nowhere to go but up, and I think we literally have gone down. I think we're just going to hit 1 4-star. Way to go, Michael. You reverse streamer lucked us. We literally hit 7. No, what is that? Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 3-stars and 1 4-star. Wow. This is why you don't pull if you can't pity, right? That's why you don't pull if you can't pity. I think we're done. I think that says we're done. And a bunch of people on the internet are screaming that you should just keep going, right? You got to keep going.
That's the gambler's fallacy right there. Be strong.
You're wasting rubies if you don't go all the way. Although, we can't get a boost berry. We can only get bronze guidestone shards. So do we go to 3?
That feels like a flimsy reason for another pull.
Yeah,
just asking.
What are you gonna do with that boost berry? Add it to the 170.
I already have. I already have 40.
Continue not using those.
45 from all those elite fragments I'm not getting. Oh well, Tatloch will not be mine. I have traded the 20 fragments. That's that. Sometimes you got to prioritize, I guess, as a free player, huh?
How it goes.
Oh well. Oh well. Okay, well, that was We Were Gamers. A disappointing end to a disappointing podcast.
Hey, the podcast was good. The ending was fun.
I had a good time. It was nice being back. I missed you guys last week. Just, you know.
Yeah.
Just bro talk or whatever. But it was fun last week. It wasn't fun last week, missing out. And, yeah, if people have thoughts about how to keep their Trapper Keeper in good shape, Michael?
They can email us that at podcast@weweregamers.com. We will we'll definitely collect some more emails. We should do an email episode soon if we've hit critical mass.
Yeah, we should. You know, it's probably a good way to start the year. Hit the end of the first month next week and do some emails.
Yeah. But they can also find us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, We Were Gamers, on those places. And go check out our YouTube, youtube.com/@weweregamers.
All right. Well, good luck on your Bargello pulls, everybody. Or, you know, capturing the people of your island in your PAL spheres or whatever you're doing. I guess that's the thing you can do in that game is you can throw the Pokeballs at people. That's a real thing, I guess.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah, why not? Man, my computer has so many noises coming out of Discord that should not be there. It's fascinating.